In this special request video, let's look at the basics of Japanese that you should know before you begin studying from a linguistic perspective. We'll cover the basics of sounds in Japanese, the writing system, grammar, and formality levels. I don't teach beginner-level Japanese, but that doesn't mean that I don't know what potential learners should know before they begin studying so that they can be prepared for their upcoming journey. If you'd like to think about languages in terms of their patterns, or if you'd like to think of them almost like a puzzle that you want to solve, this video is perfect for you. Hi, my name is Sachi. I am a bicultural and bilingual Japanese language teacher and translator. I work primarily with professionals and academics to help level up their Japanese language skills, mainly through teaching pronunciation and pitch accent, as well as business Japanese. I also translate in the areas of koseki, or Japanese family registries, and disaster science. 皆さん、こんにちは。心コミュニケーションズのサチです。今回は文法の仕組みなど、学習者さんが日本語の勉強を始める前に知っておくべきことについてお話しします。Alright, let's jump right in. Beginning with the sound system in Japanese. There are a total of 5 vowel sounds and about 15 consonant sounds. The letters, or kana, are almost always made up of either one vowel sound or a vowel sound and a consonant sound. In total, there are about 100 distinct syllables, which are actually called mora, but we'll talk about that in another video. Let's look at some examples of kana. We have a, ke, and tsu. The first one is a vowel only, a. The second one is a consonant and vowel together, ke. And the third one is 2 consonant sounds, depending on how you look at it, to get ts, and a vowel sound, u, to get tsu. Japanese doesn't have stressed and unstressed syllables like we do in English. Instead, it has what's called pitch accent, which is similar to but different from tone. There are 4 different pitch accent patterns in common or standard Japanese. Let's only look at 2 of those 4 patterns right now so we don't get too caught up in it. Here we have ame ga and ame ga. When spelled out using the Roman alphabet, they look the same, but by having 2 different pitch patterns for these words, we can hear the difference between the word for rain and candy. Again, we have ame ga and ame ga. Can you hear the difference? To learn more about pitch accent patterns, please check out the video listed up here. Now that we know the essentials of how the sound system works, let's move on to the writing system. There are 3 different ways to write in Japanese. They are called hiragana, katakana, and kanji. Kanji are sometimes also called Chinese characters. Most adult native speakers today recognize over 2,000 kanji. University-educated people know about 3,000 kanji, but in total there are over 50,000 of them. Don't worry, nobody knows them all. Hiragana tend to look softer and have rounder edges. We learn hiragana before any other writing system, and they are used to write the readings for kanji, although sometimes it can also replace kanji. Hiragana is also used to write grammatical parts in a sentence. We learn katakana next, which looks more angular. We use katakana to write loan words, slang words, and scientific words, including animal names sometimes, as well as company names. Kanji, the third writing system, often looks complicated to write, but they're much less complicated once you realize they're just made up of different components and different parts that get put together and organized in different ways. You cannot write a sentence in Japanese using only kanji. They're used to write nouns, adjectives, verbs, and adverbs, so the main parts of a sentence. How are we feeling about the essentials of the language so far? If you want to, leave me a comment down below. Now that we've covered the sounds and writing system, next, let's look at the word order and grammar. To do this, we'll compare an easy English sentence to how it would sound in Japanese. We have the sentence, I eat sushi. I is the subject of the sentence, the one doing the verb. Eat is the verb, and sushi is the object of the sentence, the thing being verbed. The word order in English is subject, verb, object, or SVO. In Japanese, the same sentence would sound like, Watashi ga sushi o tabemasu. Watashi is the subject, and it comes first, just like it does in English. Next, we have sushi, which is our object in our sentence. And lastly, we have tabemasu, which is the verb. So Japanese is subject, object, verb, or SOV order. If you're wondering why I didn't specifically mention ga and o from the sentence, it's because they are the particles. They tell us the purpose of the word in the sentence that comes immediately before it. Ga is what is called the subject marker, and o is the object marker. Watashi comes immediately before ga, so we know that the subject is watashi. And sushi comes immediately before o, so we know that the object of the sentence is sushi. To be honest, a more natural way of saying the sentence would be watashi wa sushi o tabemasu. But the wa versus ga particle differences and similarities are a little bit complex sometimes, so we won't get into that in this video. Because of these particles that we have in Japanese, word order is much more flexible than it is in English. There are lots of different particles, and they may be a little bit confusing at first because we do not have them in English, but once you get used to them, they are so helpful and so convenient. And now that we've looked at the basics of grammar, let's talk about formality. English doesn't really have formal and informal levels of speech, but broadly speaking, Japanese has 3. Casual Japanese is used with friends and close family members. Polite Japanese is taught in classrooms, and we tend to use it with people we don't know very well, with our teachers, and with strangers. Honorific Japanese is frequently used in business settings and in customer service. To learn more about the formality levels in Japanese, check out the video listed above. That may have been a little bit of a whirlwind, but let's summarize what we just talked about. First, sounds. There are 5 vowel sounds and about 15 consonant sounds. They're almost always arranged in vowel only or consonant and vowel pairs. Japanese has what's called pitch accent to help differentiate meaning between words that would otherwise sound the same. Next, writing. There are 3 writing systems. They are called hiragana, katakana, and kanji. Hiragana looks rounder and is used to write readings for kanji and grammatical parts of a sentence. Katakana is more angular, and it's used to write loanwords, slang, and often scientific words too. Kanji may look complex, but they're made of different components. They're used to write nouns, adjectives, verbs, and adverbs in a sentence. Most native speaker adults today can recognize about 2,000 kanji. Japanese frequently uses all 3 writing systems in one sentence. Next, grammar. Sentences are constructed in subject, object, verb, or SOV order, so verbs come at the end, unlike English. Japanese uses particles which indicate the grammatical role that words take in a sentence. This allows for a certain amount of flexibility in word order. And lastly, formality. There are basically 3 levels of formality, and we decide which one to use depending on the social setting and the relationship that the speakers have with one another. The 3 levels are casual, polite, and honorific. We constantly switch between the different levels of formality in Japan, but in a classroom, you'll probably only be using polite Japanese. Congratulations for making it this far. We've gone through a lot about how Japanese works. Leave your questions and comments down below, and I might select it to make a follow-up video. If you already knew all of these basics about the language and you're looking to level up and differentiate yourself from other learners, check out the resources that I have left for you in the description below. On top of providing free resources like this and other videos on this channel, blogs on my website, and video workshops, I have a new one coming out soon, by the way, I do have 2 online courses. One is Japanese Phonetics 101, and it focuses only on pronunciation and pitch accent, and it helps you understand and improve everything you need to know to sound more like a native speaker. Japanese for Flight Attendants is my second course, and the name is pretty self-explanatory. It's a course that makes sure you have the vocabulary and grammatical knowledge that you need to become a Japanese-speaking flight attendant. This is the perfect course for travel lovers who want work to take them to Japan. Both are one-of-a-kind courses. Thanks so much for sticking around until the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and leave a question or comment down below for me. I love hearing from you. 最後までご視聴いただきありがとうございました。では次回お会いしましょう。See you next time!